The galaxy was finally quiet after many painful years of war. Human fleets had returned to their stations. Alien kingdoms were no longer launching new attacks, and diplomats on both sides were trying to rebuild the trust that had been lost. Across many worlds, people were slowly learning how to live without fear again. But for Captain Ethan Ward, the famous soldier who helped end the war, peace did not bring rest. It brought questions he did not know how to answer. Ethan had spent so long fighting that normal life felt strange. He had been given a peaceful assignment on a research station that floated near a quiet blue planet. The station was small, calm, and filled with scientists who spent most of their time studying star systems. They respected him, but they also understood that he wanted silence, so they rarely disturbed him unless it was necessary. He appreciated that. After years of danger, all he wanted was a quiet place to think. One morning, while Ethan was walking down a glass hallway that looked out toward the stars, something unusual happened. An alert sounded across the station. It wasn't the sound of danger, but the signal for an unexpected diplomatic arrival. He turned toward the large windows and saw a ship approaching. It was huge, shining silver with soft blue lights that moved like calm waves. The markings on the side were clear. It was a royal ship from the Illyrian Empire. The Illyrians were one of the oldest alien civilizations known to humans. Their cities were built from glowing crystal towers. Their soldiers moved with elegant precision, and their leaders were respected across the galaxy. Most humans had never seen an Illyrian royal ship up close. Even Ethan, who had fought in the war, had rarely seen one. The station officers hurried to prepare a welcome team. Ethan followed them out of curiosity, though he stayed near the back, trying not to draw attention. He was not expecting anything dramatic, just another diplomatic visit. But deep inside him, something felt strange when the ship landed. He didn't know why, but his heart suddenly felt heavier, like it remembered something important. When the ship's ramp lowered, the officers stood straight, and the soldiers saluted. Out stepped a group of Illyrian guards dressed in smooth silver armor. They moved aside, creating a path for someone important. A moment later, a young woman walked forward with quiet grace. Her skin carried gentle silver markings that glowed softly. Her long hair flowed like liquid starlight down her back. Her eyes, bright and calm, moved across the humans with a curious kindness. She wore royal clothing made from a flowing blue material that shimmered like water. Someone whispered, "The princess. It's Princess Lyra." Ethan froze. The name hit him like lightning. The world around him blurred for a moment, and his heart beat faster. He felt like he had gone back in time, back to a quiet forest world where he had once been stranded during a scouting mission. He had been younger then, tired, injured, and far from home. He believed he would die there, until a small alien girl found him. She had been curious and gentle, with the same silver markings and bright eyes. She didn't know who he was or what he represented. She didn't know about human politics or war. She only knew that he was hurt and alone. She had brought him food, water, and leaves to cover himself when the nights got cold. She had laughed when he tried to speak her language. She had protected him when her people came close. They had talked using simple gestures, smiles, and drawings in the dirt. Before he left, Ethan had made her a small promise that he thought she would forget. He had said that if they ever met again, they would be friends. Then his rescue team came and he never saw her again, or so he thought. Now, she stood only a few steps away from him, grown, royal, graceful, strong. Princess Lyra looked around calmly, greeting the station officers with polite bows. Her voice was soft but confident when she spoke. She thanked them for welcoming her, explained that she came as part of the new peace agreement, and assured them she meant no harm. Everything she said was formal and respectful, but when her eyes finally reached Ethan, her voice stopped. She stared at him for a long moment. Her eyes widened just a little, and all her royal calmness vanished from her face. The officers around her turned their heads in confusion, wondering why the princess looked so emotional. Ethan stood still, unable to speak. She took one slow step forward and then another. When she was close enough to see him clearly, her lips parted and she whispered his name in a trembling voice. "Ethan." The hallway fell silent. The guards looked confused. The officers exchanged nervous glances. No one understood what was happening, but Ethan understood. Lyra's voice was deeper now, more mature, but it carried the same warmth he remembered from the forest. The same kindness, The same gentle tone she used when she asked him if he was hungry or frightened. Ethan felt his throat tighten. "Lyra?" he said quietly, almost not believing it. She nodded slowly, her eyes shining with a mix of shock, relief, and deep emotion. "It really is you." The officers looked at Ethan with surprise. A princess knowing a human soldier personally was unusual, but neither Ethan nor Lyra explained anything. They only looked at each other, both lost in the memory of a time long before the war. Later, after the welcome ceremony ended, Lyra requested a private conversation with Ethan. The officers hesitated but agreed. She led him to a small quiet lounge with a large window showing the stars. For a while, neither of them spoke. The silence felt full, heavy with things they couldn't say at once. Lyra finally took a slow breath. "I never forgot you," she said softly. Ethan looked at her surprised. "I thought you would. You were just a child. So were you," she replied gently. "But your kindness, it stayed with me. When the war began, I worried that you might be gone, and when it ended, I asked the stars every night if you survived." The honesty in her voice touched him more deeply than he expected. She wasn't speaking as a princess. She was speaking as the girl who once shared berries with him under a quiet alien sky. Ethan smiled faintly. "You saved me back then." Lyra shook her head. "You were the brave one. You trusted someone from another world, even when you had every reason to fear me." For a moment, they simply stood there in silence. The memories felt warm, but the present was far more complicated. Lyra's face slowly tightened with worry. "There is something important I must tell you," she said, her calm voice turning serious. "I did not come here only for a diplomatic visit." Ethan straightened. "What happened?" She lowered her eyes for a moment. "Some Illyrian groups are angry about the peace treaty. They want the war to return, and they fear you most of all." Ethan frowned. "Me?" Lyra nodded. "You are the symbol of peace between our people. You stopped the war before it destroyed both sides. They believe that as long as you live, peace will remain. So, they want you removed." Ethan felt the air grow colder, but Lyra stepped closer, her voice firm and protective. "I came here because your life is in danger. Some of them know about me. They know I once helped a human boy. They believe that because I knew you, I would stand against them." Ethan blinked slowly as her meaning became clear. "So you came to help me?" "I came to protect you," she corrected softly. "I couldn't let anything happen to you." For a long moment, they simply looked at each other, feeling the weight of everything that was unsaid. Ethan saw the same bravery in her eyes that he remembered from the forest. Lyra saw the same trust she once saw in a frightened young human boy. Their worlds had grown bigger, more dangerous, and far more complicated. But standing together again felt strangely simple. The girl who once saved his life was now an alien princess with great responsibility. The boy who once needed her help was now the hero who ended a war, and now their futures were connected again, not by accident, but by choice. Ethan breathed slowly, steadying himself. "Whatever happens next," he said quietly, "we'll face it together." Lyra smiled gently, relief washing over her face. "Yes," she whispered. "Together." Outside the window, the stars drifted quietly as if watching two old friends reunite after many years. Peace in the galaxy was fragile, but something strong had formed between them long ago. Strong enough to shape their future, and perhaps even the future of their worlds. Their story was only beginning. After Princess Lyra revealed the truth, Ethan spent the rest of the evening walking through the quiet halls of the research station. Every step echoed softly, mixing with the faint hum of the engines. He needed time to understand everything she had told him. The idea that someone wanted to harm him was not surprising. He had fought in many battles, and danger had followed him for years. But the thought that Lyra was risking her own safety to protect him felt completely different. He reached the observation deck, one of his favorite places on the station. The wide glass windows showed a field of silent stars, twinkling gently like scattered pearls. Ethan leaned on the railing and breathed slowly, trying to calm his thoughts. Behind him, he heard the sound of light footsteps. He didn't need to turn around to know who it was. Lyra always walked with a graceful, soft movement that no human could match. "You did not come to dinner," she said gently. Ethan looked back and gave a small smile. "I needed time to think." Lyra stepped beside him, her eyes drifting toward the stars. "Is it because of what I told you earlier?" "It's a lot." Ethan admitted. I thought the war was over. I thought things would be simple now. Lyra lowered her head slightly. I am sorry. You don't have to apologize, he said softly. You saved me once, and now you're trying to save me again. Lyra looked at him, a little surprised by his words. I am not doing this just because of the past, she said quietly. I am doing it because I believe in the peace you created. Many of my people admire your courage, but some fear change. They think working with humans will weaken our traditions. Ethan nodded slowly. Change scares many people. She turned toward him fully now, her expression serious. Tomorrow I need to tell the station officers everything. They must take this threat seriously. Ethan agreed. Then he noticed something soft in her eyes. Something that reminded him of the little girl who once hid him behind glowing trees when her people were nearby. Are you scared? He asked gently. Lyra hesitated, then exhaled. Not for myself, she said. I am scared because I do not want to lose someone important to me. Ethan felt a quiet warmth in his chest, something he had not felt in a long time. Before he could respond, an alert suddenly sounded through the station, short, sharp, and alarming. It was not the diplomatic signal this time, it was the sound of danger. Ethan and Lyra both snapped into focus. The calm moment ended instantly. Ethan touched his communicator. Control room, what's happening? The voice on the other side was urgent. Unidentified ships approaching. 3 of them. They're armed. Lyra's face became still and cold, like a crystal surface hiding deep emotion. It is them, she whispered. Ethan didn't ask who. He already knew. Control, he said firmly. Activate defensive shields and prepare the evacuation protocols. Yes, Captain. They raced toward the command center. Lyra moved with speed and grace, her long robe flowing behind her. Ethan grabbed his weapon from the emergency locker. When they reached the command center, the main screen showed 3 alien ships circling the station like hungry predators. One officer looked at Lyra nervously. Princess, they're sending a message addressed to you. Lyra stepped forward. Put it on. A crackling hologram appeared, an Illyrian man with sharp eyes wearing dark armor. He bowed mockingly. Princess Lyra, he said with a cold smile, you are far from home. Lyra stood tall. State your purpose. The man's smile widened. Return with us. You belong to the throne, not beside humans. Ethan clenched his jaw. Lyra's eyes remained calm. I am here as part of the peace treaty. Peace is weakness, the man replied sharply. Your mother has lost her way, and you have been influenced by humans. We cannot allow that. We? Ethan muttered. The hologram continued. Surrender now, princess. If you do, we will leave the humans unharmed. Lyra lifted her chin. I will not surrender. The man's expression changed instantly. Then we will take you by force. The hologram vanished. A moment later, the enemy ships fired. Explosions shook the station. Alarms screamed. Officers ran to their stations shouting orders. Ethan grabbed the railing to stay steady. Lyra did not tremble at all. Ethan, she said urgently, I must help defend the station. You're not a soldier anymore, he replied. I am still Illyrian, she said, and they will not stop unless I fight. Ethan nodded. He understood. They moved through the station as explosions echoed above them. Lights flickered and smoke filled some hallways. They reached the security platform where human soldiers were preparing for boarding. Captain, a soldier called. They're cutting through the airlock. Ethan looked at Lyra. Stay behind me. Lyra shook her head. I will fight beside you. The metal doors near them began glowing red. Enemy soldiers were cutting through with plasma beams. Ethan raised his weapon. Lyra summoned 2 elegant energy blades that extended from small silver devices on her wrists. They glowed with a soft blue light humming quietly. When the doors burst open, chaos exploded. Enemy soldiers rushed in wearing dark armor. Human soldiers fired. Lyra leapt forward with inhuman speed, her blades moving in fluid arcs. She deflected plasma bolts, knocked weapons aside, and struck with precise, controlled movements. She was fast but never cruel. Every move showed training, discipline, and respect for life. Ethan covered her, firing at the enemies who tried to flank them. At one point, an enemy aimed directly at Ethan from the side. Lyra reacted instantly. She created a shimmering energy barrier around him. The blast hit the barrier and scattered like harmless sparks. Are you all right? She asked breathlessly. Ethan nodded. Thanks. They fought their way down the hallway. More explosions rattled the station. Officers called for evacuation. Lyra stayed close to Ethan, protecting him and the humans around them with skill and calm bravery. The enemy soldiers were well trained, but they didn't expect Lyra to fight so fiercely. After several minutes of hard combat, the attackers retreated back toward their ships, but not before leaving a message on the station's main screen. "Surrender the princess, or the peace will die." The threat echoed like a cold wind through the destroyed hallway. The station was heavily damaged. Medical teams rushed to treat the wounded. Fires burned in some sections until security teams managed to seal them off. Ethan checked himself for injuries and then looked for Lyra. She was helping lift debris so 2 trapped soldiers could escape. Even in that moment of danger, she was thinking of others first. Ethan hurried to help her. When the soldiers were safe, Lyra finally allowed herself to sit on a crate, breathing slowly. Ethan sat beside her. Both of them were covered in dust and exhaustion. "This is my fault," Lyra said softly. "They attacked because they want me." Ethan shook his head firmly. "You didn't cause this. They made their own choices." "But humans were harmed," she whispered. "And they were harmed because of me." Ethan gently placed a hand on her arm. "Lyra, listen. These people chose peace. You chose peace. The ones attacking us chose fear. Don't carry their guilt." Lyra looked at him, her eyes heavy, troubled. "I don't want you to be in danger because of me." Ethan gave a small smile. "You helped me survive once, remember? Now it's my turn to protect you." Something changed in Lyra's expression. A quiet warmth replaced her worry. Her voice softened. "You do not have to protect me alone." "I know," Ethan said gently. "But I want to." They sat there for a moment, breathing the same tired air, surrounded by signs of battle, yet bound by something stronger than fear. Their friendship, born long ago in a quiet forest, had grown into a bond none of their people fully understood, and now that bond was being tested by enemies determined to tear it apart. Lyra looked out at the damaged hallway, her voice low and firm. "This is only the beginning. They will not stop after this." Ethan nodded. "Then we won't stop either." Their eyes met again, full of determination. Tomorrow the galaxy would bring new dangers. But together they were ready. The attack on the research station changed everything. Repair teams worked day and night to restore damaged sections, and guards now stood at every corner. What once felt like a quiet place of peace now felt tense and fragile. Ethan spent hours helping with the repairs, checking security charts and preparing for what might come next. But even with all the activity around him, he could feel a shadow hanging over the station. The enemy had not been defeated. They had only pulled back to prepare for something bigger. Lyra stayed close to him most of the time, not because she feared being alone, but because she knew the attackers wanted her. The safest place was beside Ethan, where she could protect him and where he could protect her. Their bond had grown stronger after the battle. They did not talk about it directly, but it was clear in the way they looked at each other, in the way they trusted each other without hesitation. 3 days passed without another attack. Everyone hoped that maybe the enemy had given up, but Ethan and Lyra both felt that something worse was coming. The rogue Illyrian faction had failed to take Lyra during the first attack, and they would not accept defeat easily. Their message had been clear: surrender the princess or peace would die. Ethan knew they were planning something larger, something that could shake the entire galaxy. Their fears were confirmed early one morning when a message came from human intelligence officers. A peace summit was scheduled on a central neutral planet, where human leaders and Illyrian nobles would gather to discuss future cooperation. But the intelligence report revealed something terrifying. The rogue faction was planning to attack the summit. If they succeeded, both humans and Illyrians would blame each other. Trust would break, fear would rise, and war would return instantly. Ethan felt his heart grow heavy as he read the report. If the summit was destroyed, all the sacrifices made during the war would mean nothing. So many lives would be lost again. And Lyra, who believed in peace more than anyone, would be blamed by her own people. When Lyra entered the command room, Ethan gave her the report. She read it silently, her expression becoming more serious with every word. When she finished, she placed the tablet down and looked out the window. "They want to destroy hope," she said quietly. "If the summit falls, my people will believe humans betrayed us, and your people will think the Illyrian Empire attacked first. They're trying to restart the war, Ethan said. Lyra nodded. Yes, and they will succeed unless we stop them. Ethan already knew what they had to do. We need to reach the summit planet before they attack. It is protected, Lyra reminded him. But the rogue faction will find a way in. They have support from inside my own court. Ethan looked at her directly. Then we'll stop them together. She held his gaze for a long moment, then nodded firmly. Together, they prepared a small strike team. Just a few soldiers, 2 pilots, and themselves. It was dangerous, but they could move faster and with less attention than a full fleet. Lyra used her royal codes to open hidden travel routes that only Illyrian royals knew about. Ethan coordinated the human side, preparing the backup fleet to follow behind them in case they needed it. When their ship launched, the research station grew small behind them. Lyra sat beside Ethan in the co-pilot seat. The stars stretched into long lines as they jumped into faster-than-light travel. The journey was quiet at first, filled with soft hums of the engines and the faint glow of the galaxy rushing past. Ethan finally spoke after a long moment. Do you think your mother knows about the rebels? Lyra sighed softly. She suspects, but she does not know how far they are willing to go. She still believes her council will support peace. And they won't? Some will, Lyra said. But others fear losing power. Some believe humans will destroy our traditions. They do not see peace as a future. They see it as a threat. Ethan leaned back in his seat, thinking about all the lives resting on this mission. If we don't stop them today, everything we worked for will fall apart. Lyra looked at him, her expression soft yet steady. You ended a war once, Ethan. You can save peace again. He corrected gently. We will save it. She smiled faintly. Hours later, their ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Below them, the summit planet glowed with 2 moons hanging like silver lanterns in the sky. The valley where the peace talks would take place was calm and beautiful, with shimmering rivers and tall crystal structures built by both humans and Illyrians. It was the perfect symbol of unity, but something felt wrong. Before their sensors could finish scanning, Lyra touched Ethan's arm. There, large shadows moved behind the summit buildings. Ships, not human, not official Illyrian, were landing quietly. Dark-armored soldiers hurried through the trees carrying heavy equipment toward the main hall. Ethan's stomach tightened. They're already here. Their pilot looked at Ethan. Captain, what now? We land behind the ridge, Ethan said. We move on foot. No loud entry. The ship landed gently and the team quickly disembarked. Ethan and Lyra led the way across the ridge. The valley below them was peaceful on the surface, but the danger hid in every shadow. Birds chirped. Rivers flowed. And yet armed rebels were preparing to destroy everything. When they reached the summit building's side entrance, Lyra placed her hand on the crystal wall. Her markings glowed faintly, recognizing the old Illyrian energy woven into the structure. The door opened silently. Inside, the main hall was empty, but voices echoed from deeper rooms. Ethan signaled for silence. The team moved carefully through the high halls lit by soft white lights. Near the council chamber, they heard arguing. Ethan peeked through a doorway. The rogue faction's leader stood at the center, an Illyrian man with cold eyes, the same one who had threatened Lyra on the station's screen. He held a control device in his hand, connected to explosive energy charges placed around the chamber. Nearby were frightened human diplomats and Illyrian nobles tied and guarded by armed rebels. The leader spoke loudly to his soldiers. Once we destroy this summit, both sides will blame each other. Fear will rule and the war will return. It is the only way to protect our future. Lyra stepped forward, unable to stay silent. You are wrong. Everyone in the room turned toward her. The leader froze for a moment, then laughed harshly. Princess Lyra, I wondered when you would arrive. You think destroying peace will save our people? Lyra asked. You think fear will bring strength? It will not. It will only bring more suffering. You are too young to understand, the leader replied. Humans will never respect us. They will rule over us. Ethan stepped beside Lyra. We never wanted to rule anyone. The leader's eyes hardened. You should have stayed out of this, human. He gave a signal and rebels raised their weapons. But Ethan and Lyra were ready. Move, Ethan shouted. The room burst into chaos. Human soldiers rushed in. Illyrian rebels fired plasma bolts. Ethan pushed Lyra behind a pillar as shots flew. She leapt back out with her energy blades glowing, deflecting blasts and striking with swift precision. Ethan covered her, firing at rebels trying to flank them. The leader tried to trigger the explosion, but Ethan shot the control device from his hand. It skittered across the floor, sparking. The leader roared with rage and charged at Ethan, but Lyra intercepted him. Her blades clashed with his black weapon, sparks flying. They fought fiercely. 2 Illyrians trained from childhood, but only one fighting for peace. Ethan ran to free the captured diplomats. When the last one was safe, he turned back to help Lyra. The leader struck hard, pushing her back. Ethan fired a warning shot that hit the ground near the leader's feet. The distraction was enough. Lyra swept her blade upward and disarmed the leader. His weapon flew across the room. Before he could reach for it, human soldiers surrounded him. The battle was over. Captured rebels were taken into custody. Diplomats were rescued safely. The explosive charges were deactivated. Peace had survived. When everything settled, Ethan and Lyra stepped onto the balcony overlooking the quiet valley. The 2 moons shone softly above them, and the river reflected the silver lights of the crystal buildings. Lyra looked at the calm view. "We saved both of our worlds today," Ethan nodded. "Together." She turned to him slowly, her eyes gentle and warm. "Ethan, when we were children, I always felt safe around you. You trusted me even when we came from different worlds. And you helped me even when you didn't have to," Ethan said softly. Lyra took a small breath, gathering courage. "I told you once we would be friends forever, but now I feel something more." Ethan stepped closer, his voice steady. "So do I." The stars above them glowed softly as if blessing their moment. The war was over. The danger had passed. And the bond that started as simple friendship had grown into something deep and lasting, something that could help guide both their worlds toward a better future. Their story did not end there. It was only beginning.